A new year and more broken promises for homeowners still waiting on a state program to repair or replace their homes that were damaged by Hurricane Irma more than 7 years ago. We have been investigating the taxpayer-funded Rebuild Florida program for almost a year now, and complaints continue to pour into our newsroom from all across the state. We hit the road and traveled 150 miles south to Merritt Island, where a woman battling cancer says the program intended to make her life better has made it an absolute nightmare.
I never had outside wiring like that before. I was told that's not acceptable.
From shoddy work,
it is so ridiculously low. No one would ever install a gutter like that.
To appliances she says she can't use.
The dishwasher, it works, it goes on, but there's no water to it.
Denise Rotolante says her Merritt Island home is far from finished.
So you used to never have any plants growing out of your roof?
I never had this problem ever in 30 years. I mean, it's insane. I got a whole freaking garden up there.
But Florida Commerce, the state agency overseeing the Rebuild Florida program, told us her home is now complete.
I was told it was a 3-month remodel.
And how long did it end up taking?
It's 3 years now. God, there's so much. It's hard for me to remember. The light fixtures were not fixed properly.
She was elated to join the Rebuild Florida program after Hurricane Irma damaged her home in 2017.
I was running around crying, telling everybody what a blessing it was.
But that joy quickly turned to despair as she says problems with the crews working on her house mounted.
I assumed everything was with good intention. Little did I know and find out later that everything was done for them to create the most work possible for them to make the most amount of money.
As she walks us around her house.
My house had this Merritt Island pine, and it's like concrete. And they insisted it all had to come off, and they're putting siding on. And they put on the cheapest, absolute thinnest siding. So this is my only barrier to the outside now.
She points out all the problems in her home that sits empty.
They ordered the wrong windows. How hard it is. This one is on everything. This one does nothing.
What are the biggest complaints you currently have with your house?
The roof, the septic, the air conditioner, the floors. I want to be reimbursed for my move and storage fees. There's still mold, black mold coming through.
Some black mold that I complained about that needed to be cleaned out. That basically the house needed to be scrubbed, for the black mold and whatnot. None of this was done.
Jason Wall was hired by a subcontractor to work on Rotolante's home.
New insulation was stuck in the roof to cover it up. Drywall covered over it.
We found him through a complaint he filed with the Attorney General's office about his former employer, who he is now suing over a compensation dispute.
Do you feel like her home is better built than it was before Hurricane Irma?
No, ma'am. That home was solid before we messed with it.
I lost 4 inches of height.
Battling multiple myeloma.
My vertebrae are all fractured.
Rotolante says the stress of being in the Rebuild Florida program has been overwhelming.
Multiple myeloma is a blood cancer that eats your bones. Stress is the #1 bad thing, and guess what I've got nonstop? Stress.
Rebuild Florida required her to move out of her house. The program paid for storage pods, but Rotolante says she's having to foot an $1,100 a month bill to store her belongings that didn't fit in the pods, even though she says she was verbally told she would be reimbursed, something Florida Commerce disputes.
Tell me the financial toll this project's had on you.
It ate everything I had in savings. It takes everything I have monthly. It's been outrageous, tremendous, devastating.
What do you see as the biggest problems with the Rebuild Florida program?
There's nobody held accountable.
It's a complaint we've heard from Rebuild Florida homeowners across the state.
They've been able to slide by and get away with it with fat pockets.
Wall says the lack of oversight is problematic.
I know the proper ways, the proper procedures, all the codes and whatnot, and none of them were met. The windows weren't put in correctly, they weren't sealed correctly, and a couple places they weren't even the correct window, to be honest with you.
Rotolante says she's now in a much worse position than before she joined the Rebuild Florida program. and doesn't understand how something like this can happen with taxpayer money.
The way they have destroyed people's lives with their arrogance and greed. And these guys are like walking off with lots of money in their pockets and then totally screwing the victims.
Now, since the state received federal funding for this program, we reached out to the U.S. Inspector General's office to share what we've uncovered in our reporting. And they sent us a statement thanking us for bringing attention to the allegations of potential fraud affecting the Rebuild Florida program. And we will have more on this tomorrow night on First Coast News at 11. And right now on our website, how you can report allegations of fraud. Plus, you can see all of our stories on the Rebuild Florida program by visiting firstcoastnews.com/rebuild. As for the subcontractor who hired Jason Wall, he did not return my calls, but he did tell our sister station that he disputes what Wall said and called him a disgruntled employee who was let go.